really excited to have this opportunity, and yeah, thank you all for your collaboration. I do want to run through some quick thank yous to everybody who made this possible. First and foremost, to everybody else in the commission. We put a lot of work into this event, and I'm really proud of all of us for making it happen. Also to any educators in the room. I know I wouldn't be here without you all, so always appreciate you. A big thank you to Dave Grout and other students who are on sound today, as well as Jeremy Whalen on video. The video will be uploaded to YouTube either today or tomorrow today or tomorrow. And yeah, it'll be open for public viewing. A big thank you to Principal Ben Taglieri and the Northampton High School administration for hosting us today. We really appreciate your collaboration as well. Big thank you to Northampton Superintendent Dr. Portia Bonner, as well as Northampton Mayor Gina-Louise Sciarra for your collaboration in making this event possible and bringing everybody here to Northampton. Huge thank you to all of the districts who are being represented here today. I will let presenters introduce yourself during your presentation, but Superintendent Giamara Herman and Lynn Greisemore and their representatives from Amherst-Pelham Regional School District, Superintendent Kristen Smitty and representatives from Gateway Regional School District, Superintendent Ann McKenzie and School Committee Chair Humera Fasihudin from Hadley Public Schools, Superintendent Vito Perrone and representatives from Hampshire Regional School District, Superintendent Connor Driscoll from Hatfield Public Schools, and Superintendent Patricia Kinsella and representatives from Pioneer Valley Regional School District. Thank you all so much for being here. It has been great to meet you all, and thank you for all of your correspondence leading up to this. Thank you to Representative Lindsay Sabadosa and Senator Joe Comerford. We are so incredibly lucky to have you both, and really appreciate you being here today. Thank you to Kristen Ellico, the director of the Healy Driscoll Western Mass office. It's great to see you here as well. And then last but certainly not least, thank you to Secretary and Acting Commissioner Patrick Tutwiler and his team from the Massachusetts Education Department. We're so grateful to have you here. We on the Youth Commission are well aware of the time that it takes to get from here to Boston and everything. So we really appreciate you taking the time to come out, and we're really grateful to have this opportunity to speak with you. Yeah, so that's all from me. I think Ansel will run through a quick event agenda and list the order of presentations that will happen. And then we'll hear some, you take it away.
All right. I'm Ansel, everyone. Hello. I'll be running through the agenda with you. We'll begin with welcomes and introductions from everyone in the Northampton Youth Commission. After that, remarks from Mayor Gina-Louise Sciarra and Superintendent Portia Bonner and Representative Lindsay Sabadosa and Senator Joe Comerford. Following that, we'll have presentations from all of our Western Mass school districts here today. We'll have Gateway Regional School District, Hadley Public Schools, then Hampshire Regional School District, Amherst-Pelham Regional School District, Hatfield Public Schools, Pioneer Valley Regional School District, and finally Northampton Public Schools. Following the presentations, we'll open up for a Q&A with Secretary Tutwiler. Secretary, if you would like to add any comments or any questions of your own, feel free during that time. Then finally, we'll have a closing from everyone in Northampton Youth Commission. That's the agenda. Thanks for being here.
All right, Mayor Sciarra and Superintendent Bonner, do you both want to come up and have a few words?
Welcome, everybody. I am Mayor Gina-Louise Sciarra, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to Northampton High School. I can't properly express how proud and inspired I am by the Northampton Youth Commission. This is a remarkable event that you put together, and you are the leaders that we need, and you give me the light of hope in what is a dark time. So thank you, Youth Commission. You're remarkable. We're very grateful to you, Secretary Tutwiler, for making the time to be here to hear about the crisis of state funding that Northampton and the other districts that are here are experiencing. I want to personally thank you for voting against the expansion of the Pioneer Valley Chinese Immersion Charter School. and the reduction in districts for the Pioneer Valley Performing Arts School. Though that passed, your vote was absolutely noted and appreciated, so thank you for that. For us in Northampton, the stacking pressures of stagnant Chapter 70 aid, high and ever-growing charter school sending tuition, declining enrollment, but growing special needs and skyrocketing costs have been a tremendous challenge for years. And Northampton has stepped up and has passed 2 general fund Prop 2.5 overrides in 13 years to help keep up with the rising costs for schools and services that we all know 2.5% can't begin to cover. But each year, that gap grows wider, and this year, Chapter 70 only accounts for 16% of our actual net school spending here in Northampton. We cannot meet the expanding needs, not to mention innovate and excel without a fair share of state funding. So Secretary Tutwiler, almost 2 years ago exactly, we toured one of our elementary schools here together, and we talked about our state funding crisis then 2 years ago. The problem is exponentially worse in these 2 years, and it is rending our community and communities across this region and across the Commonwealth apart. So thank you so much for being here, and we really implore you to look at Chapter 70 and help your schools in the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Good morning, and a special welcome to Secretary Tutwiler. I welcome you to Northampton Public Schools, the home of the Blue Devils. We are a district that prides itself in building community of engaged students, enabling students to reach their potential, and nurturing the values of kindness, empathy, and inclusivity. And to our other guests, Gateway, Hampshire Regional, Hatfield, Amherst, and Pioneer Valley, welcome. School funding plays a pivotal role in shaping students' future success. Adequate and equitable funding provides the necessary resources to create quality learning environments, attract and retain effective teachers, and offer crucial support services. These investments not only lead to improved academic outcomes, but also have long-term positive impacts on students' economic well-being and overall life chances, contributing to a more equitable and prosperous society. I want to thank the Youth Commission members for organizing this opportunity for student and local education agencies to voice their opinions and our voices to be heard. So again, I welcome you.
Okay. Representative Sabadosa, would you like to say a few words as well? I don't know where she is. Oh, or Julia? Oh, great.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. It's so lovely to see so many wonderful administrators, educators, students, and of course, Secretary, thank you for being here. I'm going to start with what all politicians say. I'll be brief, but I really will be, because I want you to hear from these districts. And I know that we've talked, Secretary, about the challenges that our schools are facing, and the mayor has articulated some of that. The districts will do more. But I just want to frame this today. We are here as the Congress of the United States is working on passing a bill that will undermine public education in this country as we know it. And they will do that in all states, irrespective of whether we want them to or not. In Massachusetts, we talk about public education as something we cherish and protect, and I am so proud that is in our state constitution, that education is critical and we know it. But we are up against inadequate state funding. You know that we will be partners in trying to resolve that, but we're going to have to be nimble and creative and do all we can to also push back against a wave of vouchers and religious funded schools and everything else that may be thrown at us. So I hope that we will take what we learned today and figure out new and creative solutions so that we can continue to protect our schools in the Commonwealth. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, Senator Comerford.
Good morning, everyone. Secretary and your team, a particular welcome and thanks. In addition to the Bridge Street visit that Mayor Sciarra referenced, we know that you also met that morning of the Bridge Street visit with the region's superintendents, and we're grateful for that. Also, you visited Pioneer. So you went from a Northampton classroom and school visit to one of our more rural districts. I want to commend the Youth Commission Secretary and team. As you know, these young people, many here, packed into a too small office, traveling to Boston as they did to try to meet with you and speak with you to convey what was happening not only here in Northampton, but across the region. And today, thanks to them, we're gathered with a really important array of districts. And these districts will talk to us about the particular nuances of challenges in Western Massachusetts. Of course, they're not only challenges for Western Massachusetts, but here we have both declining enrollment, as the mayor said, we have rural schools, we have the impact of charter, and we carry the weight of needing to open the Chapter 70 formula as well as the municipal contribution formula. And we know that these are complex issues. We know your big brains and big hearts are also under the weight of these issues. And we believe that together we can find the solutions our districts need. As the mayor said, and I'm sure you're going to hear about it, right now in Western Massachusetts, we are not affording our students or our educators an equitable access to education or learning environments. That is the painful truth of what we bring to you today and what you'll hear about particularly. We're grateful to you for listening, as you always do, and also offering your partnership. Thank you so much.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and jump into presentations. So if Gateway would come up here. We have 2 mics here. We can grab a third from down there if you need, but yeah, whatever works. All right, thanks guys.
It's good?
Yeah.
All right.
Wanna switch?
Sure.
Thanks.
All right. Good morning. I'm Theodore DeAngelis Page,
And I'm Anna Holmes.
and we are the student representatives of Gateway Regional High School. We are excited to share about the programs going on at Gateway as the first presenter, particularly because many of our peers will talk about the more intricate details that are impacting school funding. Over the course of our high school careers, we have been directly impacted and involved in the discussion of school finance, and specifically rural aid funding. Although inadequate, the $971,000 Gateway receives has been used for important aspects throughout our schools. 9 different teaching positions have been filled and funded by our rural aid funding this year. Our school has always lacked sufficient student opportunity, and with these 9 extra positions being offered, students are able to expand their academic and vocational portfolios. Opportunities include additional sections surrounding our welding and early education and care programs. With additional sections being offered, students are able to fit the classes and programs they want into their already busy schedules. Imagine the incredible things that we could do if rural aid was fully funded instead of being funded at 1/4 of the recommended amount.
We have stretched our budget in every direction just to cover the basic needs of students. It is thanks to hard work writing grants and crunching numbers that we can even strive for more. But writing grants and competing for funding every year is not sustainable. Children should not have to compete with one another for education. The Rural School Report has confirmed what we knew through lived experience, that we do not have the funds for an equitable education compared to students from other schools. And it is an undeniable truth that every child deserves a balanced, rounded education. Through extensive grants and programs, students have engaged in a range of eye-opening activities. We've had important seminars and assemblies on the basis of hate speech prevention, internet safety, and domestic violence. In an isolated and radicalizing community like ours, the importance of these cannot be understated. Young, isolated children made to feel different by the undereducated often find themselves in unsafe situations. They don't have the real-life experience or knowledge to prevent this. These special activities help students focus on real-world problems, not just academics. This is the importance of school, not just numbers, equations, and sentence structure. It is critical thinking, pattern recognition, and communication. Through the Bar Foundation, individuals have gotten the chance to take trips out of state to observe the possibilities of what Gateway Regional could become with the proper funding. I personally work as an intern with one of our elementary schools, and I have seen how students have prospered from financial support. This slide shows how one of our elementary schools got to experience a hands-on birds of prey experience, and the other elementary school is learning about whales with a life-size whale mobile.
The impacts of the small amounts of funds we do have are numerous. During this month's school committee meeting, we reported on 9 individual activities/items that were funded using grants and financial support. Students prosper from financial support that gives us a wider range of opportunities and perspectives in the real world. For example, students took field trips to a construction site, learning about the roles and responsibilities of construction workers. Expanding students' academic capabilities and ways of thinking has been a large part of our school's instructional vision, and opportunities such as these can supply students with the necessary tools to develop.
Sufficient funding for a school like ours and the other schools here is a catalyst for prosperity. Our students have been contained by minimal resources and a lack of opportunities to present their full potential, which often puts larger schools in the spotlight. Even so, we still find ways to work with the small allocation we receive to make the best of our education. If we had fully funded rural aid, we could thrive. While we understand that FY26 is out of your hands, we do hope that for future years you do take into consideration the impacts rural aid could have on a school like ours. And we thank you for your time.
Okay. I'll just project. Perfect. Thank you, Gateway. We would love to have Hadley up next. And just a brief reminder to presenters, Ursa down here will be holding up a 2-minute and 30-second reminder just to keep track of time. So thank you all very much.
I'm not trying to violate your cell phone policy, but I'll also time myself so I don't go over. Thank you so much, Secretary, for being here. Thank you to everyone here today, to the Northampton Youth Commission for putting this together. You are impressive. When I grow up, I want to be as wise and organized as you young people. And of course, our legislative delegation and everyone here. My name is Annie McKenzie. I just saw you, I think last week, Secretary. Thank you for being at that event. And I'm the Superintendent of Hadley Public Schools. I am currently wrapping up my 11th year of being Superintendent in Hadley. It's a privilege and an honor, and I'm extremely grateful. So I'm going to briefly discuss the inequities in the current charter funding formula. I'd like to say Gateway's slide was heartwarming and beautiful, and this will give you a headache. But I'll walk you through it, which I'm pretty good at giving people headaches. So the current charter school funding formula, no surprise, disadvantages districts with declining enrollment and districts that receive limited Chapter 70 increases. And for many districts, charter school tuition costs are rising significantly, creating a financial strain on our public school districts and municipalities. So what are you looking at? I'm going to draw your attention to the chart, the graph at the top there, and the section in blue. What you're looking at there is the percent change in net charter tuition cost to districts between fiscal year 15 and fiscal year 24. This isn't the total amount of funding charter schools received. That actually increased in that time period statewide by 114%. This is just the net cost to districts. So you see individually what's happening to the districts represented here, and you see statewide that the net cost to districts went up by 101%. During that same time period, Chapter 70 increases statewide were 50%. And for some of the districts here, I'll call out my colleagues in Pioneer Valley Regional School District, while they had a 199% increase in net cost of charter tuition, their Chapter 70 aid went down by 1%. I think we can all agree that that's a problem. Something isn't working the way it was intended. So what I want to point out is the schools that are really disadvantaged, which is your right on the bottom, my left, by how the current charter school tuition formula works. So you see schools with declining foundation enrollment. What frequently happens when a district has declining foundation enrollment, think of that as your denominator and your budget as your numerator. And when that denominator decreases, the amount of money you spend per pupil typically goes up. And very frequently, you end up spending, or districts end up spending more money, and they spend a significant amount above what is required in the formula, what is required by net school spending. So that percentage over required net school spending, you can see Amherst, 47% above in fiscal year 24, Gateway, 19% above, Hatfield, 66% above, we're 48% above. That percentage above is tacked on to the foundation tuition rate for charter schools. So all of us are paying a different amount, depending on who we're sending to a particular charter school, and depending on how much more our municipalities spend, that percentage above required NSS. And that gap, when foundation goes down, typically that percentage above required NSS goes up. So what am I asking for? Holy guacamole, I'm over, I got 10 seconds. Here's the ask. I would ask that the state consider, when they open up Chapter 70, a hold harmless provision when it comes to districts and municipalities where there's an inverse relationship between Chapter 70 foundation enrollment and the percentage above over required NSS. And when that is present, I would say perhaps we don't have to pay that additional percentage. That happened in fiscal year 24. You see in the orange on your left how much money in just one fiscal year those towns would have saved. That would have been the cost avoidance. That's the ask. It's a big ask. I'm more than happy, as are my partners, to talk with people and be a part of the solution, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We will have Hampshire Regional come up next. You all have some lovely transitions in your slides. I will give you this. Point it towards this and not at the actual slide.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Margaret Larson, and I'm in my 10th year as a school committee member at Hampshire Regional and my second year as a school committee member at Norris Elementary in Southampton. With us today is also our superintendent, Vito Perrone, our business administrator, Don Scaparrotti, and our principal, Lauren Holtz.
Hello, everyone. I'm Elisa Congracia, a senior at Hampshire Regional.
Hi, all. I'm Keegan Butler, a junior at Hampshire.
We are student representatives on our school committee, and we are here to discuss some of our challenges and propose solutions to our school's funding. Our first challenge is that students no longer benefit from the same level of resources as their peers. Since we come from a rural regional high school, we don't have the same access to opportunities as wealthier and larger school districts.
Our suggested solution to fix this is to increase rural school aid to $60 million and maintain minimum per pupil aid at $104 per student.
Another challenge that our school faces is a decline in student enrollment, an increased cost of transportation and special education. This means that because student enrollment is in the districts are decreasing, we don't have adequate funding to accommodate increased costs.
To help combat this growing issue, we suggest increasing circuit breaker reimbursements to cover 90% of eligible tuition costs and 75% of eligible transportation costs. With this, we can make progress to properly fund our schools.
Our last challenge we are addressing today is that town governments must fund increasingly higher proportions of their school budget from an insufficient and stagnant tax base. What we mean by this is that towns are already struggling to fund their own responsibilities and services, which can make school budgets an afterthought.
As someone who is involved with 2 schools and in our district, our funding means, our structure means that our budgets are presented separately for our high school and for each of our elementary schools. And what happens on the ground, and we saw it this year, is if funding is inadequate, it means that schools get pitted against each other, our high schools versus our elementary schools.
Our suggested solution to fix this budget issue is to change the Chapter 70 formula to better match the recent cost growth as well as inflation. Thank you for listening to our challenges as well as our suggested solutions for funding our schools today. We hope you can implement these solutions to get us the education we deserve and to create a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Next, we'll have Hatfield come on up.
Good morning. My name is Connor Driscoll. I am the superintendent of Hatfield Public Schools. I'm also the principal at Smith Academy, the high school and middle school in Hatfield Public Schools. That combined role is just one of many ways our district has been trying to get creative to keep rising costs and associated cuts away from our students. Secretary Tutwiler, Youth Commission, elected officials, thank you all for being here today for this important conversation. I'm going to be speaking today about sort of our district's rising costs and how they far exceed municipal funding constraints. So as you can see, special education costs are now, for us, a full third of our budget, with a 25% increase for next school year that's anticipated. That's after a 21% increase for this year. So if you look up at that chart, the yellow up there, that is the yearly increase. So even though there are some numbers at the FY22 and 23 that look similar, that's in addition to the previous year. So you can see that cost is just ballooning. Despite a successful override in 2023, which was historic for our town, the costs that are associated with special education are really far exceeding what our town can contribute. The increase just to out-of-district placements for next school year more than consumed this year's increase of 2.5%, which was the limit that we could get for this year. The special ed increases as a whole are 3 times the town increase, which means we'll have to look elsewhere for those costs. Circuit breaker reimbursements, meanwhile, have covered about 3.25%, 3.25% of our entire special ed costs, so certainly not keeping pace. Add to that the foundation formula is woefully inadequate and unrealistic when it comes to special ed needs. That combined with the fact that circuit breaker doesn't come close to keeping up, without reform to both those pieces, both circuit breaker and the foundation formula, we're really going to just continue to see a disproportionate amount of our budget being obligated to special education. And I'd also like to speak to another place that the state could possibly help control costs, and that's transportation, and really other high-cost projects that go out to bid. So last year, when we went out to bid for our new transportation, our new contract, I was a little surprised and had a little bit of sticker shock when we received a 43% increase. So I put it out to other superintendents around the state just to see if that was kind of on target with what people were experiencing. You can see on the right side over there kind of what the results were. We had 37 districts respond. Those increases ranged from 2.5% to 70%. So really no rhyme or reason to where those increases are happening. About a quarter of districts saw increases of over 30%, whereas 62% of districts, so the vast majority, saw over a 10% increase. The statistic that really jumped out at me, though, was the 81% of districts that responded that received only one bid on their contract. When we received a 43% increase, we thought, hey, maybe we'll go back out to bid, but we only got one bid. So that same company could have come back and said, well, actually, it's 60% this time. So we didn't end up doing that. We ate that 43%, and that's a common story throughout the Commonwealth. Both these areas, special education and transportation, are required spending. When the increases for them are disproportionately large, it creates an inequitable pattern of spending in a district. Doing what's right for our students, all of our students, including our special education students or those who receive services, should not come at the cost of a benefit to all of our other students. Unfortunately, the current fiscal reality that we're facing in Hatfield, and I think in many districts, is that districts are being forced to choose, and that's a problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll have Superintendent Herman from Amherst next.
Greetings, everyone. I am Dr. Sciarra Herman, Superintendent of the Amherst-Pelham and Amherst-Pelham Regional School Districts. And I'd like to begin with a special thank you to the Northampton Youth Commission for your stewardship in orchestrating such a successful convening today. You're the reason why we're here advocating so that our current students can learn in educational systems that will provide them with rich and robust opportunities to be the change agents that you are and the Commonwealth and the world needs. Secretary Tutwiler, I want to begin by acknowledging the critical role your office plays in shaping the educational landscape of the Commonwealth. We are grateful for your time and even more so for your willingness to listen. We are here today because we are facing an urgent and deeply concerning financial challenge in our schools. Quite frankly, our expenses are outpacing our revenues, and we are rapidly approaching a breaking point. Or perhaps for many of us, we are already there. Despite our strong stewardship and strategic planning, we are confronting a set of financial realities that cannot be solved at the district level alone. We are asking for your leadership on several key measures that are essential, and ones that you've heard just before. Increasing rural school aid by funding $60 million as recommended by Mars, as well as fully funding regional transportation reimbursement of up to 100%. Why not ask for what we need and beyond? Districts like ours are bearing real documented transportation costs that simply cannot be sustained under the current reimbursement model. Increasing circuit breaker to help offset the unpredictable and rising costs of special education services. These costs we must meet regardless of revenue because they directly impact our most vulnerable students. Let me be specific about what this looks like in our current communities. The Amherst-Pelham Regional School District, Amherst Public Schools, and Pelham Elementary Schools are together facing a combined deficit over $2.7 million. And that's with town assessments increasing significantly, 6.5% in the region, 5% in Amherst, including a one-time financial gift, and 2.5% in Pelham. This shortfall is not a result of poor financial planning or fiscal irresponsibility. It's a result of cost increases that have become impossible to absorb without structural state support. Let me walk you through a few of those costs. This year, our health insurance costs rose by 19.92%. Through tough negotiations and redesigns, we were able to bring that down to 14.2%. But that still results in an increase of $770,000 at the region and $717,000 at Amherst Public Schools. Our transportation contract has increased by 14%. We've stretched the burden across 5 years, but that's a 10% increase that will hit us in FY27. Our liability insurance has increased by nearly 50%, and our special education costs continue to rise in all 3 districts. These are not discretionary increase, as previously stated by my colleague. They are fixed costs that consume larger and larger portions of our budgets each year, leaving us with fewer and fewer resources for our classrooms, for programming, athletics, music, and student supports. And this isn't just about our districts. These ongoing cuts are putting tremendous pressure on our towns, which are already contributing at higher levels. And you'll hear from some town representatives of Amherst shortly. We are reaching a critical point where even basic educational programming is in jeopardy. Larger class sizes, fewer specials, reduced staffing, fewer counselors, interventionists, and ultimately lower achievement outcomes. All of these things are now on the table if something doesn't change. And let me be clear, this is not the future we want for our children, and it is not the standard Massachusetts should accept for its public schools, especially its regional districts. We've already had to make painful decisions. We will make and will have to make more. But at some point, we must ask ourselves, what is the bare minimum we are willing to provide for our children in this Commonwealth, and how far are we willing to fall from below even that? We are not here simply to highlight issues. We are here to advocate, to fight for what our students deserve, and to ask you to fight alongside with us. With your leadership, we can weather this financial storm and ensure that every student, regardless of the zip code in Massachusetts, has access to a high-quality, equitable education. Thank you for your time, for your service to the Commonwealth.
We will also hear briefly about charter schools from an Amherst town representative.
You just heard a fabulous overview of what we're facing in Amherst, and I am going to drill down to one piece that is very much contributing to the funding crisis we face at the local level. It was mentioned earlier with a terrific chart that showed you the charter payments, but what I want to focus on is the fundamental change, and I realize this requires legislation, in the funding formula for charter schools. Right now, the formula does not take into account the mix of children that our schools serve, nor our fixed costs. For Amherst, this means we send over $22,000 from our regional school net and our elementary school to the charter schools, $22,000. Meanwhile, the local charter schools spend around $18,000 or less. We are generating surpluses for the charter schools and rising deficits for our school. We submitted additional charts to go with some of these statements, and what I want to emphasize is the mix of students. Our public schools, and I put Northampton in as well as Amherst Regional and Elementary, serve a higher proportion of special needs, a higher proportion of low income, not just a higher proportion of circuit breaker, but the local charter schools serve no circuit breaker children. They don't have the same obligation as we do to serve every child. We have to serve them, and we welcome them. The recent decision to expand a charter school locally, I think, when you closely read the legislation, goes against the basic fundamental concept of what charters were supposed to. They were supposed to be serving a similar mix of students. They were supposed to be helping failing schools raise their standards. Instead, what we're seeing locally is they're pulling down the standards in our public schools and creating inequitable access. It's fundamentally unfair competition that's been set up, both the way we pay and the oversight. So I just want to leave you with that thought that this requires fundamental payment reform for charters. Some other states have the state paying the charter budget directly. They don't pull it out of the local district tax base, as does the state of Massachusetts. We are generating surpluses for charters and rising deficits for our public schools, and we have no way of changing that dilemma. In the future, this is only going to get worse. It's undermining equitable, fair access to education for all of our students, and it affects everyone in this valley. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we'll now have Pioneer Valley.
Thank you, Secretary Tutwiler and others for being here today. My name is Mina Beckman, and I am the middle school social studies teacher at the Pioneer Valley Regional School. I'm joined up here by two of my 8th grade civics students who throughout this year have developed an interest in rural education advocacy. Today, they're going to be focusing on the impact that transportation costs have on their experiences. And what you will hear today is a result of their extra work and preparation, and I just wanted to express my appreciation for them while we're all here. I'll now let them speak and let them begin.
Thank you, Secretary Tutwiler, for this opportunity to share our experiences here. My name is Brody Bartak. I'm an 8th grader at Pioneer Valley Regional School. I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you, Secretary Tutwiler. My name is Parker Pike, and I am also an 8th grader at Pioneer Valley Regional School, and we're grateful that you took the time out of your day to listen to us.
Pioneer Valley Regional School is a place where students feel known and appreciated by our teachers. Our school is relatively small, with an average class size of 12.2 students. This year, our graduating class will be only 36 students. Compared to a closer school like Franklin County Technical, they will be having 156 students graduating. Hearing these numbers, you can see how small our school is.
Our school is part of the Pioneer Valley Regional School District in the town of Northfield, and the teachers here are always trying their best to teach us a lot of new and helpful information. We are one of the few schools in our area that do not have a public bus route going directly to us.
Challenges that our school faces due to lack of public transportation are that students have to rely on friends or family to pick them up if they ever have to stay after school, whether it being catching up on work or for extracurriculars like sports or clubs, which not everybody able to do.
Whenever our school wants to take us somewhere by bus, the baseline to get a bus for traveling is $425. So whenever a field trip is planned, we have to do multiple fundraisers to raise enough money to travel, and more because our school doesn't own any buses. For example, in band class, we take a yearly trip for an event called Trails and Thrills, but we had to do at least 2 fundraisers this year to get enough money for our buses and tickets. For individual trips for athletics transportation, we spend between $425 to $1,400, depending on the time and distance. And being so rural, we often are traveling long distances for games.
If we had access to public transportation, we could get jobs to make money as well as taking part in community classes at the Greenfield Community College. In places like Boston, students get passes to get to school, but they can also be used 24/7 throughout the year to get to places for free. And if we had this in our area, students would have a lot more freedom to go where they want on their own time.
We would also be able to have more access to after-school clubs and events that we wouldn't have to wait to be picked up by someone, which allows us to not have to rely on others to get from one place to another. For example, my mom has work hours in the afternoon, which makes it hard to find transportation for after-school clubs and events that I want to participate in. Our ask is that we receive more transportation funding to purchase minibuses to allow us to fill the gap of having a lack of transportation.
We would like this so that we can get the same opportunities and experiences that other schools get. Thank you again for this opportunity to share our ideals and firsthand experiences about this issue.
We are grateful for being here and being able to speak to you about these problems that we face at our school and community.
Thank you so much. Helen and Owen, good to go? Thank you. Okay. Okay, yeah. I'm Amelia. I'm Amelia. I'm a junior at Northampton High School.
I'm Owen. I'm a sophomore at Northampton High School.
I'm Helen, and I am the co-interim chair of the Northampton Youth Commission, and I am also a junior at the Northampton High School.
Alrighty, so it has become tradition that every year Northampton Public Schools, or NPS, is systemically underfunded by the state. The Healy-Driscoll administration's proposed 6% increase in Chapter 70 funding still leaves Northampton with more than $4 million in debt. The resulting 2.27% increase for fiscal year 26 in Northampton does not address our deficit or cover the cost of inflation. Northampton's Chapter 70 state aid only accounts for 16% of its actual net school spending for MPS. This has fallen since the 1993 Education Reform Act, when it was 33%. In the past 25 years, Chapter 70 state aid has increased only 13.3%. In that same time, required net school spending has increased by 75.8%. And our actual net school spending has increased by 136.7%. Every person in our city feels the pain of an inequitable funding formula that forces our city to make impossible decisions.
The only way in which we can proactively address the underfunding of public school districts is to crack open funding formulas, such as the Chapter 70 formula, the charter school funding formula, and the circuit breaker. Additionally, the Commonwealth must create a new foundation budget review commission and revisit the municipal contribution levels, which we have not done in 17 years. To put that number in perspective, 17 years is longer than I've been alive. During my entire lifetime, our state has relied on one municipal contribution formula, even as fiscal capacity and priorities change. The formula is outdated. While the recent Student Opportunity Act and Fair Share Amendment are important pieces of legislation that have sought to improve education funding, they leave districts like Northampton out.
It is a deep concern of ours that the Healy-Driscoll administration has not committed to begin steps to solve the root of this crisis. We are a state that prioritizes education, but right now, the state is not prioritizing education everywhere across the Commonwealth. You have heard from 7 districts today. We're being left out. And we need our current executive administration to do the hard work in reopening formulas so that there can be educational equity across our state. There's no better time to commit to this work than now.
At the Ways and Means hearing on education and local aid, which Amelia and I attended, you stated, quote, "We will follow the lead of the legislature on this important conversation. I will also say definitively, what we've proposed in H1 is a strong local aid proposal. I offer all of the resources between the Department of Elementary Education and Secondary Education and my team should the legislature decide to move in that direction," end quote.
After today, I hope it has become clear that while there are strong aspects of H1 for local aid and education, they are built on a system that does not serve the entirety of Massachusetts. This needs to change, and we need your voice in the conversation.
Every year, our educators, students, and our community as a whole suffer from a lack of state funding in our areas. We ask you, your department, and our state's administration to commit to opening the funding formulas and providing a system of funding that serves our entire Commonwealth. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our presentation part of our agenda. Secretary, would you like to come up and speak at all? Do you have any remarks?
Do I need this mic? Yes, I think I do. That's the teacher in me. I just want to first say, and I think this was said right in the very beginning by the mayor and also by our state legislators. I'm just so heartened by the students and their presentation, youth commission. I had the opportunity to chat with you earlier in the school year. The opportunity to come back and hear directly from you along with your counterparts in other communities is really meaningful to me. There was thanks, and I appreciate it, for making the ride out here, but this is what I'm busy doing. My job is about listening to people and trying to understand their situation so that we can craft both policy and resource allocation proposals that meet your needs. I understand and respect that there's a feeling that that has not happened. But what you did here, and I really, that quote was spot on, sir. That was spot on. What you did here is a commitment to work with the legislatures should they take the lead in opening up Chapter 70 and taking a deeper look at solving some of the challenges that were lifted up. So I just want to say it's an honor to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to hear from you, and it's not a burden. For those of you who said, oh, thank you for making the ride. This is what I'm busy doing, and it's an honor to be here. That is all. Happy to engage in the Q&A.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're running close on time, so I think, Helen, do you want to ask just one or two questions briefly, and then we'll do a quick closing, but thank you very much.
Oh, I got it. Okay. I was breaking the rules.
I would skip this. Just do this.
What have you taken away from the presentations given by the districts in this event?
What I've taken first and foremost is that there's deep agreement around the purpose of education, first and foremost, which is to create the conditions for all students to realize their dreams. I heard it said multiple times that it shouldn't matter what a student's zip code is. It shouldn't matter what their background is. It shouldn't matter whether or not they were born here or got here yesterday. Everybody deserves a high quality education. That's a tie that binds. That is something that I would say we all agree to. But then there's challenges in how districts are able to carry that mission, that sameness and values out. I will admit that a number of the things that were shared are things that I've heard before. I heard them shared at a deeper level as it pertains to the individual districts, which is helpful for me, but things around transportation, special education out of district costs, circuit breaker not sort of meeting the moment in terms of the costs, and then the impact as it relates to students' experience, which is always really important for me to hear in terms of access to, I saw the whale and these sort of relevant learning experiences, the opportunity for students to have access to the mental health supports that they need in their schools. And so all of those sort of sharings are deeply helpful for me in terms of understanding impact as well.
Wonderful, thank you. So final question. I think we may be all wondering, why will you not commit to K-12 funding education reform unless the legislature does so?
Great question. And so this Chapter 70 is a law. I'm just going to be upfront and honest with you. What the administration has done is the things that are within its purview. The proposals around the 24% increase in circuit breaker funding, which brings it to the entitlement to 75% reimbursement. The increase in regional transportation reimbursement from 80% to 95%. I know it's not quite 100%, but we're getting there. These are things that are within our control and that have impact on districts. A couple of weeks ago, I was down on the Cape with all of the business leaders from districts across the state. The mention of the circuit breaker proposal actually drew applause. They understand that that's going to be impactful for their districts. That is within the locus of control of the administration. We are willing partners should the legislature decide to take a step to open up Chapter 70 and begin to sort of figure out what shifts need to be made. There is an amendment, I believe, in the Senate's proposal that calls on the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed to begin those conversations. I am so committed as your interim commissioner and as your secretary to doing that work should it move forward.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, Ursa and Jack, do you want to come up real quick? Quick closing, and then we have 2 minutes, so make it work. All right, thank you so much. We really
My
appreciate
pleasure,
having
thank you.
And thank you to everybody who's been here.
I know we're running short on time, so I just want to say that we are infinitely grateful for all of you for being here and creating this experience. And note that we're extremely fortunate for the opportunity and to have the platform to discuss school funding because it's an extremely vital issue. And as you can tell, it is affecting us widely across Massachusetts. And thank you for being willing to have these conversations and engaging and asking questions and answering them. And it's a wonderful experience for all of us. So thank you.
We hope this event has highlighted the importance of education
the importance of reform when funding education, including charter schools, rural aid, regional transportation reimbursements, special education, and the overall restructuring of education funding formulas. The districts represented here today have shown you the deep impact that education funding has had on Western Massachusetts education. We urge you to consider these experiences and commit to solving the education funding crisis that is negatively affecting countless students, educators, families, and communities in our area and across the state. Thank you.